Hello, this is Pastor Steve coming to you with the weekly update, coming to you from the chapel. And talking with Jake, we decided that it would be kind of fun to find a different location in the church or in other locations around as Jake's getting familiar with the building to do our weekly updates. So we're coming to you from the chapel today, and I want to open with a story. I really get a lot out of this book called The Sower's Seeds, 120 very short and inspiring stories. Most of them are said to be anonymous. And one of the stories was about a king, a very wealthy king, who had a child and threw a big banquet and everybody was bringing gifts, and there was a young sage who came, did not bring any material gifts, but his gift was to tell the king that once this child was old enough to understand and to hear stories, then this sage would come by every week and share some of the great stories of the heroes and heroines of their past. And indeed, the sage did this and faithfully came for many, many years until the child had grown and become an adult. That child then became the new king and led with great wisdom and went on record as saying it was because of the stories that planted a seed for the wisdom that he had acquired. Stories are indeed so powerful in how they shape us. I want to invite you sometime this week, maybe even now, to think about what are the stories that have been instrumental in shaping your life. I tend to think of the church as one of the greatest still existing and blessed organized gatherings for the sharing of stories. Our sacred stories that come from the Bible shape us and tell us about the world we live in and shape the way that we see that world, the way we see ourselves, and the way that we see and interact with one another. This past Sunday, Jake did a beautiful job telling us a story about his mom, a little bit about himself and his upbringing, but also share with us the amazing story about Peter in the Bible when he discovers the expansive inclusiveness of God's grace, love, and kingdom. I invite Jake to share a little bit.
Hello, Faith United. This is Pastor Jake Heskett, your new associate pastor. We are almost a month into our new appointment here, and I am thrilled this week to be coming to you from the chapel. Maybe some of you recognize this room, maybe you don't if you haven't seen it in a while, but I'm coming to you from the chapel for this weekly update. It was great to be able to preach last Sunday. If you missed it, I preached from Acts chapter 10, where Peter had his aha moment when he realized that if God is impartial, the church must be impartial. And so it is now up to us to do the hard work of making sure that all people are included in God's family. I know that we will do that work well together. I want to thank all of you who made an effort to come out to the parade on Sunday afternoon. Thank you to Georgianne and to the rest of the organizers who made that parade possible. It was so good to meet some of you in person and to be able to spend just a couple of minutes there speaking with you, getting to know you a little bit more. And I know that that work will continue as well. Rebecca and I are settling in here at Faith United. I know that many of you have asked that question, and I want you to know that we are still, even a month in, thrilled to be here, thrilled to be a part of this church family, and we are finding our way. With that, Pastor Steve has brought to us for this weekly update an update from the New Beginnings team. But before we do that, I want you to take just a few minutes and celebrate with me with some of these pictures from the parade on Sunday.
want to give you an update, a little bit on how things are moving along with our New Beginnings team that's looking at all that's involved in moving towards reopening the church building for gatherings. We've mentioned before, we're now in the second week of having tables set up in the gathering area where when those essential folks like staff and others who help with worship by wire recording do come into the building, they sanitize their hands, they sign in, they take their temperature, and all of that is part of the practice that will be leading to us eventually opening up for small groups and eventually leading to opening up for in-person worship. I wish I could give you a date. I wish I could say this is when we plan on reopening. As all of us are learning, this coronavirus is such uncertainty. It's up and down, and we're trying to just watch all that information. We're trying to be very discerning in the way that we go about things. I do want to celebrate, though, that we are continuing to make some progress in addition to that gathering area set up, which we're testing out how that works with worship with the face coverings and face shields, and testing all these things out that are helping us to filter through. In addition, Mike Wadlington, our head custodian, ordered a month ago an 8-foot piece of plexiglass so that he can build a plexiglass shield in front of the altar table in the sanctuary, so that when we have in-person worship, we'll be able to have folks do liturgy from behind there, and that will create that safe barrier. The other thing that happened this week is that Dennis, our worship arts coordinator, met with a representative from Paladin. They are the company that has given us a quote for the live streaming equipment. And they came back and gave us a quote now for a upgraded sound system. That's been something that's been in the works, but we were looking for another company to compare prices and quotes. And so Dennis is working on that. I expect that within a week or two, we'll be able to submit to the 2020 team for review and ministry council to approve the installation of the equipment necessary for live streaming. It's going to be essential that when we do open for in-person worship, that we are committed to continuing to provide an online alternative, because we know that there will be many folks who will still prefer to continue to be worshiping by wire and enjoying the safety of their homes. And for many, that will be the safest option to follow. Others who are contacting me, I'm hearing more folks say, when are we going to open up? And they're telling about some other churches that have opened up, and some have even gone and experienced worship in some of those places and have told me how well that's gone. One of the things I invite you to just be mindful of is, again, there's so many unique things about every church: the size of the sanctuary, the airflow of the sanctuary, the number of people who would normally come, what's worship going to be like in that setting. And some churches are not following many of the recommendations, and we are hearing in the news about folks who are becoming infected with the coronavirus, and as a result of worship gatherings. So we are committed to making sure that when we do open up, that we're going to do the things so that we can really honor that. And that means questions like probably not singing in worship, and everyone needing to wear a mask, and no longer passing plates around for offering. All those traditions that are normal part of what we expect in worship are going to be different. Still, I understand there are many who say, we get it and we want to come back. We want to see folks. So we do continue to try to work towards that. And as soon as we are able to set a date, we'll do that. But in the meantime, we continue to encourage us all to do what you can to engage in the safe ways of connecting with one another in fellowship through Zoom conference, through telephone calls, through meeting perhaps in some places where you're able to follow the protocols and stay safely apart and keep your mask on.
Though we are not meeting together for in-person worship or gatherings inside the facility, we know that the vital work of the church continues. I have been so impressed by the many ministries of Faith United, but specifically, I have had the opportunity yet again to be with the people of Faith United and the incredible ministry that happens between our church and the partnership with Crystal Park. I am so proud of the team and the hard work that goes into making Faith Kitchen possible possible. And I would like to celebrate with you if you just take a moment to see some of these pictures that I was able to capture from the ministry of Faith United when I was with them last Saturday. This was also the back to school ministry that takes place every year. And though we had to do the back to school ministry a little different this year because of our circumstances with COVID-19, the team was able to transition flawlessly to make sure that this ministry could be done as safely as possible under our new circumstances. With that, Sue Bell has said that once again, as always, it was a labor of love for the team that got together and took inventory for the backpacks and packed the backpacks and distributed them. In that labor of love, 113 backpacks were distributed and 58 Goodwill vouchers were distributed. We are so excited that we were able to bless so many families in the community through that ministry. One specific story that both Sue Bell and Teresa Persis lifted up to us was a young mother of two who, upon receiving the backpack and the Goodwill voucher, was in tears and shared with them this thought. She said, "You have no idea what this means to me." And that is true not only for that mom, but for many of the families that were served through this vital ministry. So thank you to the congregation for your donations, for your prayers, for your financial support, and for all who made the Back to School ministry an incredible success this year.
I want to continue to encourage you to sign up for the Jake gatherings. We now have had over 50 people participate in those gatherings. They are by Zoom at this point, and you would be surprised at how well those are going, even with the technology. So if you are one who has not used Zoom and that is a barrier you're concerned, Jake and I have prepared a little video that I'm going to resort to in a moment where it shows you kind of how that works. So hopefully it can help you overcome any concerns or fears that you have, and you'll sign up and we will get you connected. So far it's working out well. When there's been a little bit of a hesitancy because the technology is a little bit hard to work through, we're all patient, and we've got folks that are always on the Zoom who are able to coach people through. So we make it work. And I hope that you will sign up for those. Again, those are going well. In fact, I was in a meeting a couple weeks ago where we did sort of a hybrid, where we had 3 people who joined us by Zoom, 3 people who were in the room. And because there were 3 people in the room, all 3 had to wear facial coverings. And all 3 needed to be 6 or more feet apart, which meant that the computer for Zoom, the camera was spread way, way back on the other side of the room so that we could all be in the screen. And that made it hard for the Zoom to really pick up our sound of our voices. And we weren't able to see the folks as well on the screen. They weren't able to see us as well because we were so far apart. And what we found is that, in fact, we have felt a more close connection when everybody's just on Zoom. In fact, Jake and I, we might both be in our offices, but instead of meeting in person with masks on, we just called each other up on Zoom because I'm able to see his face, I can interpret his expressions, we can really communicate well. So if you're not used to that technology, I invite you. This pandemic's not going to go away, and even once it's over, there's still going to be the use of this technology. It's with us, it's here to stay. And so I encourage you, whatever your age, wherever you are with technology, go ahead and give that a try. This is a loving community. We'll help you through that. Others are using Zoom so much that you don't want to do another Zoom conference. We don't know when it's going to be possible to meet in groups with Jake in person. So go ahead and sign up for one of these gatherings and take this opportunity. It's so important to get to know our new associate pastor, for him to get to know you and build those relationships so that we will grow in our fellowship and in our community and grow as a church. This is a critical time in this transition. It's going beautifully, and I encourage you, click on the link, sign up for one of those Jake gatherings. We've just now included more dates and times so that you can be a part of that.
Another vital ministry that has continued, albeit in a different way, was our Vacation Bible School. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who made Vacation Bible School a success, and I want to thank you for continuing to spread those videos around. You all have done a great job sharing those Vacation Bible School videos through the various platforms that you have shared them on, so thank you for doing that. We are coming to our ending time for the amount of time that we are allowed to leave those Vacation Bible School videos open. So those will be coming down on July 30th. I believe that's the correct date. You have a couple of days by the time you watch this video to go back on one more time and share those Vacation Bible School videos or watch them for yourself. Thanks again to everybody who made that Vacation Bible School possible. I also want to celebrate the work of the Camp Read-A-Lot ministry. I noticed that as of the recording of this video, we had almost 100 views on YouTube, which does not count the views that have been clicked through our website. So if people are finding it on the website, that does not count in the YouTube views. So thanks to all of you who are sharing those videos. A big shout out to Kathy and her team who did the hard work of developing the resources for Camp Read-A-Lot all by themselves. A reminder that as you are watching those Camp Read-A-Lot videos, as you are participating in the crafts and the activities, to please send in pictures of your family participating in those so that we can celebrate the incredible work that is still going on. And I also want you to continue to share those videos through the various ways that you can. Email, Facebook, whatever platforms you have available to you, please take the time to share those videos.
I want to take a moment and invite you to express your appreciation, perhaps reach out to Jonah Mitchell. He has been our pastoral intern this summer, and we are now in his last week. This coming Wednesday, next week, will be his last day with us, and this Sunday will be his last Sunday to join us by Worship by Wire. And Jonah's been a wonderful intern, especially in this coronavirus pandemic. That's created some challenges, but he has been in many of the meetings with me. He's watched how this church functions, how this is a healthy congregation. He actually helped me co-officiate the wedding for Tom Hunt and Pam Matheny. They've been members of the church here for a little over a year. And we did my first Zoom wedding last Saturday, and Jonah was able to be a part of that by Zoom, helped me to officiate that wedding. Also this week, Jonah is helping me officiate the funeral service for Barb Smith. That's Kathy Schmucker's mother-in-law, which is also to be lifted up in prayer. As of last Sunday's Worship by Wire, we shared in prayer time that she was in the final stages of life, and she did die this past Saturday morning early, which was after the recording that we did for the Worship by Wire. So prayers for Kathy and her family as they transition to life without Blake's mother. She did die in her sleep, and it was a peaceful transition. And Jonah will be helping me to officiate that service. Grateful for Kathy and the family for allowing him to be a part of that. And again, express your appreciation to Jonah for being our intern for this past summer. I want to lift up and invite you to be a part of worship this coming Sunday. We are beginning a new series for the 4 weeks. There's 5 Sundays in August, but for the first 4 Sundays, we're going to be focusing on great faith lessons from Luke, lessons from the Gospel of Luke. And this comes full circle back to the opening about stories. What are some of the stories of faith in the Bible that have been very informative and shaping your understanding of God and your life? Take a moment to think about your favorite stories of great faith in the Bible. I'm providing a link, a Google form survey, where you can share some of those stories from the Bible. You're also invited to share any stories from your life. Who have been people in your life that have really been symbols and a presence of great faith? What are the hymns or praise songs that have been for you inspiring of great faith? That's the theme for these next 4 weeks, is great faith. We'll be focusing on Luke, but you don't need to be limited to Luke. What are the great stories in the Bible for you that speak about faith? This is a way for the congregation to help shape the worship and the sermons. We've already got the passages picked out from Luke, and you'll be surprised, I think I am, at the ways in which Jesus teaches us about faith and who Jesus points out as those who are modeling and demonstrating great faith. So I hope that will entice you to share with your friends, invite them to be part of Worship by Wire. Our subscribes in YouTube continue to go up. I think we're now up to about 112. So kudos to you, the congregation, for using that as a way to reach new people, family and friends who have been joining us. Again, this Sunday, starting at 8, Great Faith, and you can click on the link and share some of your stories of great faith that can help shape the sermon series itself.
I also want to celebrate with you the work of the youth ministry. Amy and I have been able to sit down and talk about what has happened, what is happening, and some things that might happen in the future. I've also been able to meet with some of the youth in a Zoom hangout setting. It was a great blessing to be there and to get to meet some of the youth of Faith United. The mission boxes that many of you have been hearing about have been a great success. We have had 16 of those boxes be signed up for, and those boxes will be packed this Friday, July 31st. So if you signed up for one of those boxes, you should be looking for that. Amy sends along her thanks to the congregation for your support financially and also of donations, and of course for your continued prayers for this project and the rest of the work of the youth ministry. Amy also promises that there will be pictures shared of these in the future.
I want to wrap up this weekly update with a couple of new prayers this week. But before I go there, I want to just let you know that we are beginning to think about a sermon and worship series for the fall, winter, and spring. And I want to invite you to help shape that. So in the same way that I mentioned that there's a survey for the August series on Great Faith, there's also a survey where you can share some ideas. Some are listed. There's also some blanks where you can throw out new ideas. And we'll factor those ideas in and see where that goes. So I hope you might help us in seeing where God is leading us in the coming 12 months as we're thinking about ahead for some worship and study series. Some new prayers I'd like to share with you. Kim Wallach's mother had back surgery to fuse some vertebrae together, and the surgery went well, but right after the surgery there was an air embolism that created some complications, and it was very critical for the first 24 hours. I just heard from Kim, and her mother's making great progress and is expected to be in a step-down unit for care here soon. So prayers for Kim Wallach and Kevin and her family, prayers for Kim's mom as she continues to recover from back surgery and from air embolism complications. And as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Jonah, prayers for Kathy Schmucker and her family. Again, this is her mother-in-law, Blake's mother, Barb Smith, which is also Caitlin Schmucker, one of our young adults, her grandmother, and Emily Schmucker's grandmother. So prayers for that family, especially as we have a graveside service this week that's limited because of coronavirus. Let's turn to God in prayer. Oh God, we pray for all who are suffering during this time of pandemic, those who are suffering just simply because of the need to be socially distanced and the changes in our lives and the cancellation of plans and celebrations and gatherings and all of these things that take such a toll on us emotionally, perhaps spiritually. Help us, Lord, to continue to support one another, to reach out to one another through caring with calls, cards, and various ways of connecting with one another. We pray for those who are being directly affected, who are infected with COVID-19 and their families. And we're praying, Lord, for those who are also the victims of racism. We continue to pray, Lord, that you will use us as a church to be a voice that encourages the movement towards inclusivity and equality. Help us to raise our own consciousness and awareness of the things that we do that unintentionally perpetuate systems that cause inequality and injustice. We lift these things up to you in prayer, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.